Canadian-based channel DanPlan was destined to fail when money got involved, and the fact it lasted this long is a miracle on the YouTube platform. When it comes to channels that include multiple figureheads, each need their equality on and off screen, or else the power dynamic shifts to one singular person. This is something that happened with the now defunct channel DanPlan, causing all the former hosts to go their separate ways. Join me, daftpina, as we look into a rocky relationship and a business model seemingly too successful to fail. This is DanPlan, Fake Friends, along with a special surprise that I can't wait to show you, whatever it is. Daniel's channel DanPlan started in July 2014 with Daniel and Hosu. Dan was the speaker, with Hosu being the artist that made the stills for the first video, and of whom ended up being a host later on.
Every Saturday, our youth group has to go to this morning prayer, which is at like 5 a.m. Completely ridiculous in the first place. Afterwards, our youth pastor will always tell these stories that none of us would listen to because we're all tired.
And despite the video being of the familiar lines of storytime animation, like The Odd Ones Out or Jane Animations, it didn't particularly catch the algorithm or people's eyes. And during his early start, he also tried his hand at video game Let's Plays, but that didn't catch on either. Around this time, he did make a few more types of these animated story videos, but shortly phased them out for the likes of vlogs and his main staple, By the Way. Some of the earlier episodes were story times, but slowly transitioned into what-ifs and would-you-rathers with friends, responding to humorous situations.
Alright, what is this test? Let's give it a try.
So there's a list of questions that you would have to answer in order to figure out whether you're a psychopath or not.
And new voices were added in the picture, including Anna, Billy, and Jay, who became recurring hosts of the channel. Future prominent member Steven first showed up in Yamate Titan Senpai, and slowly over time, the hosts I just mentioned downsized to just Daniel, Steven, Hosu, and Ann. Jay left due to poor internet access, but he comes into the picture later in the video, so keep him in mind. Now's the best time to mention that at this time, the channel was just a hobby, as this was something the college-bound friends did in their off time, as they particularly weren't earning a lot of views or money for their videos. But what rocketed Dan's channel into the public eye was 2017's By the Way, Are You a Psychopath? This initial hit drastically changed the direction of the channel, as, gaining notoriety and attention, they got to do frequent collabs with popular animators at the time, and they were able to sustain good viewership with their content and reach 2 million subs in 2019. However, there was some internal trouble that was starting to boil over and out of the pot that is their channel. And although everyone was seemingly having fun with these videos, the creator of the channel, Daniel, and his good friend Steven had two different ideologies regarding the direction of it. Daniel wanted to expand the business, and Steven, he wanted to keep this a hobby. Now what can go wrong? During 2019, both Dan and Steven were attending their respective universities, but Dan put his on hold and even turned down a dream job to pursue YouTube as a career.
Okay, so here's what's going on. For the past 1 year, I've dropped out of school. I quit my internships to do YouTube full-time.
Steven didn't share this mindset, however, as no matter what happens, he'll keep his real life and YouTube life separate. Also, I'm using the GAOMON PD2200 to draw something funny. You should stick around to see what it is. By keeping his YouTube and real life separate, it actually created a shift in dynamics that caused the downfall of the channel. Dan truly became the face of the channel, as Hosu, Steven, and Jay opted to never show their face at all. And this issue was creeping up on them, as vlogging became a staple just as much as a series, By the Way, did. And now's a good time to mention that Hosu is not the only artist on the channel, as with success comes money and hiring more people, which is a sign of good business, as expanding and being more professional leads to a longer running channel if done right. Can't have all eggs in one basket, which is a mindset Dan had to adhere to due to most of the hosts not wanting to show their faces. This means that the animators not only had to work on By the Way, but some of them had to put resources into covering the faces of the camera-shy individuals, Luckily, at the highest points, there was between 12 and 14 animators at one time, so they could split some of the resources. But although the amount of employees grew, business stayed relatively the same. This can be noted in a September 2019 vlog where Dan regrets to inform that he wanted to start a podcast amongst many types of our content in December of 2018, but nothing ever arose.
Last year, during Christmas, I promised that we'd do podcasts, vlogs, so many different types of content, but we're not. We're just making animation, and not as often as I like to.
And what may have halted all of this was the March incident, a incident happening in the March of 2019. And now we're going to get into what was hidden from the public all this time. Drama. Ooh, scary. January 4th, 2020, Steven posted on his channel, Actually Steven, about how he was mistreated on DanPlan. The video starts off with Steven confirming that he isn't in the group anymore, and he made it clear it was just a hobby and he regrets ever joining the team in the first place.
So as the title of the video says, I've quit DanPlan. It's no secret that I've never thought of YouTube as anything other than a hobby. Back in March of this year, I found out that DanPlan made 5 figures from 3 videos in the span of a month, of which I was paid less than $300.
Citing $25 an hour, which is how much he got paid per video. And if you're saying, whoa, that's unfair, it is. Social Blade is not a good estimate for actual money earned, and the only thing I'd really say to use it for is to see how many subs you gained or lost. And the best way to check out how much one makes is to check out their own analytics, which now it's important to note Steven never actually had access to the channel. So surely you're saying, wait a second, he brought this up to Dan, right? Kind of.
So me and Daniel argued for hours over the course of 2 days. But then I asked Daniel, what could I do to increase my share in DanPlan? And everything just imploded. He said nothing, you're just an employee, you have no share. And that statement has stuck with me ever since we fought, and it hasn't gone away. I was part of the DanPlan golden age, where we got millions of views on our videos, past 1 million subscribers, and you get the fucking gall to say that almost none of that was earned by me. That I played no part in it.
Hey, those are some serious character accusations. Is there any evidence or perhaps a friend named Hostu to confirm this? Kind of, but none shown in Steven's video, besides Social Blade. The rest of the video was a venting piece that I believe Steven needed to make to get through the situation he was experiencing.
But more than anything, I stayed because I wanted to try to prove to Daniel that I wasn't just an employee, but rather an integral founding member of the channel, and my contribution deserves acknowledgement. And so, for the past 9 months, I tried. God knows I tried. Every recording session, I brought my humor, my edge to the table. But I fought a losing battle.
Everything Steven describes in the video is heart-wrenching, especially when he claims that Dan didn't respect him, and how hard Steven tried to impress his former boss. So for all intents and purposes, Steven was, in addition to the channel, one who gave a big part to the brand, but in addition nevertheless, and his impact should not be dismissed. Dan did not respond to Steven's video at this time. January 11th, 2020, Steven made a live stream to go more in depth about his feelings over Dan and the situation itself. However, this is what dug his own grave, as while the video was 7 minutes, this live stream was nearly 2 hours long. When live streaming, you aren't as coherent or concise as you might come off to be in a video, so errors might crop up. Condensing information is actually what helped Steven's word, and it actually felt like a concrete case that he was being underpaid and Dan was a bad boss.
You guys have already been unsubscribing like crazy, because they were at like 2.03 mil, but now they're at like 1.97, and I kind of find that funny, because Dan didn't give me recognition for 1 mil, so I'm going to take away his 2 mil.
And along with that, he actually brings up some of the animators as a point against Dan.
This is not just a me problem anymore. When I started digging, I started asking the animators, how much were you getting paid? And the answers kept being the same, about $450 per month. For a month of work, they get $450. And it's not even consistent. Daniel has essentially trapped any animator who actually wants to make a living just by paying them like slave wages while still making them work full time. I talked to a couple animators who did in fact confirm this statement.
However, the way that Steven brings up these artists were really thought out poorly. Within the 2 hours of the live stream, none of the animators came up to say anything, as they want to remain anonymous, which is completely understandable from their point of view. They don't want to publicly call out their former boss, as future online employers might not want to hire them. However, this is a double-edged keyblade that stabs Steven in the back, as he had no legs to stand on with a cheering audience of workers you cannot see. Steven wanted to fight for the rights of these DanPlan animators, but really just ended up with them getting fired.
Scenarios that could play out is literally him just burning the entire channel to the ground, letting it die, and then leaving all the animators, like crew in general, to do nothing. Because this is a job for them, and I don't think Daniel realizes that this is like their main source of income, albeit it's a very small source of income. So it's unfortunate. Most disheartening fact about this is the fact that a lot of the animators know that drawing jobs and art jobs are so rare that they're staying because $450 a month is still better than $0 a month.
Animators and artists not getting paid or treated fairly has a long history behind it, which reminds me of the Disney strike of 1941. Citing various inequalities and privileges at the non-unionized animation company, Walt Disney responded to the 5-week strike by firing most of the animators, and eventually having to work with the Screen Cartoonists Guild. And a proper animation strike should have been had with DanPlan's animators. Circling back into the March incident, he states how he tried to work his best, so much so that it actually ultimately led to mean-spirited outbursts at Dan during recordings. And although the videos may give you a laugh, a giggle, and a snort, none of that was happening behind the scenes.
But to Daniel, every recording session, I was merely talking to friends. To him, I wasn't putting in any effort into the videos. Every recording session, I wanted to swear at Daniel for real, to yell at him so much that I had to stop talking sometimes, or else I might say something I would regret the next day.
During this time in January 2020, the DanPlan channel on Twitter remained inactive, and Steven makes the claim that he tried to get in contact with Dan to sort the situation out.
I do truly want to resolve this because there are still people working on DanPlan who are being mistreated, and I don't want that to happen to them. So yeah, I want to resolve this. Not for my sake, because I honestly don't want his money anymore. But I think that he deserves, the animators, the crew, and everyone else who works on DanPlan deserves answers.
January 17th, 2020, Jay released his version of the story in a now deleted video. He mentions first and foremost that he is not a part of DanPlan anymore, just like Steven said.
And this is just more or less something in response to Steven's story and explain why I continuously state that I'm not part of DanPlan. I'm not part of DanPlan. All of the information that I'm going to be using is from Dan, Steven, and Hosa, and some of the animators from the animation team. So it is as direct as I can get. And it's around March of 2019 when Dan contacts me again about recording. And because I was able to, I had internet, stable one at that, I agreed. And so we started to record again. And things had changed slightly from the last time I saw it.
But he notes that something felt off about the channel, so he did some snooping.
So it's around this time, I guess, so July 2019, that I started to get a hunch or a feeling. I had a hunch that something was off with DanPlan channel internally. So I decided to do a small investigation privately. And when Dan found out about it, that I was digging, he adamantly tried to make me drop it. He did not want me to dig around.
And at this point in the video, I was wondering why Jay never showed up in Steven's video, but we'll get into that.
I found out that few years prior to the time of investigation, the time of investigation, so 2019, so a few years prior to that, just as the channel was growing, Dan decided himself to split the channel's revenue 50-50 with himself and Hosa. He purposely left out Steven. I did a one-on-one interview with roughly 10 animators. At the time, I don't know the total number of animators that was in the team, but of that 10, I believe 8 replied saying they were not happy in the DanPlan. It's a giant sweatshop. Originally there were 3 animators when they just started off, Hosa included. Now they are at 12 without Hosa.
And within the video, he continues on about what he saw, but this just reminds me of the Disney animator strike of 1941. If Jay was able to confirm that 8 animators is feeling some sort of bad feeling towards Dan, if they actually had a proper strike, then video production would have halted, and Dan would have had to negotiate with them better pay. I was able to speak with a few of the animators regarding this, and one anonymous source mentioned how they didn't feel it was necessary to do this, as most of them weren't able to afford a strike. Of course, hindsight is 2020, and we now know that not fighting for equal pay resulted in everyone getting fired, and I actually found out that the animators only recently talked about their pay, which, if you or someone you know is working for one of these high sub channels in a group of animators, you should probably ask each other how much they're getting paid. Unpaid animators, internal fights with Steven and Dan, along with a general air of disdain of the channel. What did Jay do with all this information? Well, he kept working for Dan, of course.
And so after that, I let Dan do whatever he wants. It's his channel. He showed his determination for it. And that's why I say I'm not part of DanPlan officially. I refuse to be. I've been stating that ever since these series of events. If Dan seriously and sincerely wants me to be a permanent member, I have several conditions and changes that needs to be made. But until then, I will be a guest at best. I don't want to be a part of this.
Continuing to stay when nothing could be changed only brings into question the morality of Jay as a host, which is a good time to mention that he does have some allegations on him, which is why his video and general internet presence is eradicated. January 21st, 2020, Dan responds to everything. Well, mostly Steven. Black thumbnail, no description, and an ominous title referencing his mainline series. We're ready for this drama to come to a close.
2 weeks ago, a friend of ours has left DanPlan and has made a video about me. In the video, Steven showed his remorse and has commented on how I treated him. This video will be responding to that, but not only that, sharing my side of the story and my perspective on it. I'm sorry that this video is late. I know that 2 weeks can be a very long time, and I'm sorry.
Dan takes time to respond sincerely to the people affected, apologizing to the anonymous animators, and gives a general history of his channel.
First and foremost, I've already apologized to them privately, but I want to apologize again. I am sorry that all of you are caught up in this. It's not your problem that Steven and I had a spat, and it's not your problem that we are taking this out in publicly. You should not be involved in this. I know it's not just stress for me, but for you all as well. And I am so sorry that you're involved in this.
Dan makes the claim that on February 26, 2019, Dan and Steven had a call where he demanded 33% of the company's share, or else he'd leave.
I was shell-shocked. Steven, who has told me that he's never going to take YouTube seriously, who's told me that he would never even start a YouTube channel, who said he was doing this just for fun, is now saying that if we don't give him 33%, he was going to leave. During this fight, this is when Steven refers to me calling him nothing more than an employee. As I recall, I have said something along the lines of him working less than our animators, which was true.
A surprising yet welcome twist between all the videos is the fact that Dan actually showed some proof.
At the end of our fight, when he decided to stay, he then told me that he wants $100 per video. He could have said more. I would have not mind that. That wasn't point of the fight. That was not point of the argument. He sends me all the invoices of each video, so I'm not forcing him to do anything. I teach him how to make those invoices, of course. And when Steven quit DanPlan, he's told me that he still wants to be paid for all the videos that will be posted in the future, which I said I would honor.
Of course, there's a lot to consider regarding the morality of sharing DMs publicly. However, in this case, when it's a lot of they said, it's understandable why Dan showed them.
Do I have anything left to say to Dan? Not in public, In private, yeah, sure. I have lots of stuff to say to Dan.
But still does the entire live stream. And I was less upset when he messaged me the day before the live stream saying that he wants to resolve this and he wants to talk things out I believed him. But then in less than 24 hours, he did another live stream, not resolving it with me, but taking things out publicly again.
And with DMs being shown, so were invoices. And yes, we were able to prove inequality with payment.
First of all, they don't sign anything. It's a verbal agreement, and it's, second of all, not a full-time employment. No one has mentioned this, and I don't know why. They are what it's called subcontractors. They are contractors. That is what the type of job that they have. They do a contracted job for a project. In this case, it's a video, and it's completely different from a wage-based job. They do their own work as their own entity, and on the project that we request, we both agree on a price. When we mutually agree on the price, they then work on the video itself.
Dan mentions the animators and him agreed on these prices, which they probably have. However, the issue in this is not knowing your worth and not talking with others to see what kind of deals they got. As it was found out that the animators only discussed how much they got paid after Steven's video came out. Among with a little more confirmation here or there, he ends the video saying this might be the last DanPlan video ever.
I don't know when I will come back. I don't know if I will come back. These past 2 weeks has made me experience something that I never wanted to experience. It has demotivated me to work at all or to even function. I am at a place where I can't be making videos unless I am happy to do it. I'm sorry if that sounds selfish, and I'm sorry that this is the way that I'm saying goodbye for now. Didn't want it to be like this. But if I do come back, I'll be coming back with a smile. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Anne releases a video where she states that she's still friends with everyone and thinks everyone made bad decisions.
I don't think it matters who did more wrong than the other person because, they both did something wrong and they both have something to work on and reflect on. Maybe, and it's all upon them. We shouldn't be here enforcing them to learn their lesson.
Which I agree with, considering what destroyed the friendships of Steven, Dan, Hosu, and Jay was, essentially, the channel itself. Oh, you wanted to see what I drew? Take a look. As a counterpoint to what Steven said in his video,
And why friends and business don't mix.
friendship and business can mix if everyone's on the same page. The biggest issues regarding DanPlan were control, whose channel it actually was, and proper communication. First and foremost, Daniel himself created the account, DanPlan, and was the essential face. Steven and Jay seemingly didn't have much power despite being prominent figures within the same channel, and having mixed feelings about their involvements as a business. Which this reminds me of the early days of a channel that we all know called Game Grumps. In 2012, JonTron and Egoraptor created Game Grumps as a side project. However, over a short period of time, the Let's Play channel was actually eating up a lot of JonTron's time, so they both had to agree on the executive decision that John had to go, so they replaced him with Danny as a permanent replacement. From an outsider's perspective, it seems like fans quickly warmed up to Danny after John left, and hey, 7 years later, they still do Game Grumps. And with the departure, John was able to focus on his business and brand, as he now is able to own a studio, a crew, and even worked with some people like Disney, Flex Tape. And on Aaron and Danny's side, they expanded business with a few more channels, offering with different content along with other ventures they wanted to pursue. Steven and his Dan never saw eye to eye on their channel, and this was the ultimate downfall of their friendship. Mixing in mistreatment and low pay only escalated the situation, but I fully believe during the March incident, Steven should have left the channel as a main host. Mainly since if I was friends with Dan and I found out that he was making severely more money on the same project that I was working on, I would feel a bit heated and betrayed. And so in this hypothetical timeline, while Steven and him are taking a break as friends, Dan would have to be forced to find someone more suited for a long-time role. Of course, Steven could always come on as a guest, as he liked the spotlight so much so that he created his own channel. Hosu would have had to leave around the same time they did in 2019, as they had to set off for the military for about 18 months. And circling back to Aaron and Danny, they work well as business partners as they're able to both agree on where to take the channel, and to the extension, the brand itself, forward. That positivity and trust behind and front of the scenes makes the content enjoyable for those who watch it, rather than now on DanPlan where we know that some of the recordings actually had malicious intent behind it, that you can never look the same way again.
Understand?
Okay.
Yes, of course, Daniel. Anything you say.
Okay.
You what? You're just so good at this hosting thing.
Good, because
Like, I think you can get us through this entire game. Don't worry about
let
it.
me say a sentence, good Steven.
Of course. I would hate
Today
to have to interrupt you
Shut
during...
up!
There is no winner between Dan, Jay, and Steven, as all of them went their separate ways from the situation, never wanting to look back. Dan recently released a video regarding his absence on YouTube. At the time of release, the video hit the trending tab, so in that regard, the channel isn't dead within the algorithm. Another note to touch upon is the fact that the content is fully live action.
After the drama happened, I took a break, and I was like, alright, I want to get back in. And I started filming. The first thing I tried was this Shane Dawson type film, and I tried doing this thing called the balance bracelet.
Going back to a 2018 podcast, Dan does mention he wanted to do more vlogs, so this is not out of character for him to return with.
I wish I could do more IRL stuff though. Like, I don't like the fact that we're kind of stuck in this like animation platform kind of genre, because I can't animate. Hosta can, and now there's like a team of people that does it for me, but I feel like I lost the creative touch to it almost. So I want to do more IRL stuff. I don't know. What do you do? Don't you guys want to do more IRL stuff? I don't
No,
know.
I already do that stuff, so it's okay.
Also, from the looks of it, he actually found a collection of friends and family and is willing to participate with his antics and show their faces in their videos.
And the only way for me to continue right now is to be creative in a different way. We only waited for you because we were waiting for animations. I know, but I love YouTube. I love making YouTube. Maybe I'll get back to it. But right now, I need to try something new, said Daniel, looking into the camera, trying to look confident, hoping that nobody notices the extreme distraught and anxiety he has in his heart.
And so I look forward to the content that Steven and Dan put on their channels, as the last thing anyone should want is the pure destruction of either of them. Giving people the benefit of the doubt goes a long way, and the message of this video you're watching still rings true. Knowing when to leave, when to speak up, and even when to make things public are key things to think about when talking about the DanPlan story. There is no easy answer for any of these, so it will always be a case-by-case scenario that you have to work around and work through. Yeah, and so with that, best of luck to Dan, Steven, and Hosu. I look forward to the bright future and what happens next. Today's a fantastic day that I've been subtly hinting at the beginning of the video, and so I'm happy to announce that I'm working with Crowdmade to produce high-quality merch for my channel. But what kind of merch do we have available? Coming in a wide variety of colors, this hat and shirt are perfect for your hat and shirt needs. My favorite color of the hats is seafoam, and I'm glad to wear it whenever I go outside, whenever I feel like it. So come on down to Crowdmade and check out my merch, as, hey, looks nice, I approve. A big shout out and thank you to the people on screen, as they're part of my Patreon. And if you want to be one of these fantastic people, then go pledge some amount to get some things early, like the video itself, like info, and everything in between. Thank you once again to these fantastic people. And if you want more, head on down to the Discord server that's now partnered with cartoon reviewer and good friend Ellis Mark. There he is. And if you haven't had enough DanPlan talk, then go check out the Right Opinions video on the same matter, where he dives into the specific dynamics between Steven and Dan over on his channel.
To an extent, both parties could have been more proactive. But as the guy in charge of the channel, Daniel did make a real mistake by treating someone who is part of the brand as a part-time rep.
And so until next time, please have a